Yo, what's up? I'm Brian here doing another video for you guys, and this time I'm going to try and do this all in one take, but I guess we'll wait and see. But I wanted to talk about this because there's a huge subject going around on Twitter and YouTube even. I saw 60 posted a video on this, and some people were not happy. And I'm just really confused why anyone's really disappointed. I mean, you might have your preference on what you want for the alt mode of Megatron, and that's pretty much the topic of this video. But when you're disappointed or upset or saying that Hasbro really screwed up, I just don't understand why anyone would be surprised by this news. So with the Studio Series 86 line, they brought up the Optimus Prime, so obviously Megatron would come out later. And someone had asked that, is the Megatron going to be in the gun form or the tank form? And one of the designers had clarified that it's going to be the tank form of Megatron, which is not what was seen in Generation 1. Obviously in Generation 1 and the 1986 movie, he transformed into a gun. So that has a lot of people upset. And I just gotta say, why would anyone be surprised or disappointed by this news? It feels like it's kind of obvious. The tank mode has been kind of featured since the 90s with Generation 2 and has since been established as the go-to form for Megatron, because when you think of it, the gun mode doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, I like the gun form. It is Transformers, so you can't really pick around on some of the realistic things on it, and sometimes you just gotta have fun. But when you think of it, your alt mode relies on some other Decepticon or even an Autobot holding you to actually function, and you transform into this smaller gun that has to transform into the hand of some other Decepticon. So I feel like a tank would be more reliable or more suited for Megatron in the first place. But then people are nitpicking the laws of the G1 Megatron as a gun. Some people are saying that, okay, well, in Australia you can't sell that. And some people are saying, well, maybe you can. And even then, it doesn't feel like an alt form that you really want to put out in stock for the masses. Takara can do that easily because their laws work differently. But with Hasbro, I feel like they just don't want to step in that line. Another thing that I want to point out is that, especially with kids buying these toys, I mean, you gotta remember kids are still at the toy aisle. But anyways, you also gotta take note that it might not even be the designer's choice. I think the designers are fine with it, but you also gotta realize that the executives also have to give the go-ahead to release this Megatron, and they might have concerns that some Karen or some kid might not be happy with the fact that it's a gun form. Some people are going to say, well, I don't think a kid's going to get in trouble with a cop, but you're probably going to deal with backlash anyways with people thinking that that might happen. And I feel like that's not really a bad argument to say, because if they're releasing a pistol, especially a Walter-style pistol, you're going to have some people upset by that. Now, some people have said, well, it could have been a sci-fi blaster, and I will say they kind of did that with the classic Megatron. Some people say that, oh, well, there was a concept where he was going to be a jet. You could also do that, or you can have him as a standing turret gun. And to that I say, okay, what's the difference between that and a tank? Because yes, the jet mode, I guess, was based on the concept, but they didn't really go forward with that. And the gun mode, the standing turret mode, I mean, I guess that's kind of similar to a gun, or the blaster, fake blaster mode is kind of similar to a gun. But to that I say, you're still going to be dealing with something that's not accurate to the movie or show. So I don't know why a tank would be any different than a jet or a standing turret. Like, that just doesn't really make sense to me. And also, with the complaint about the compromises, because people are saying, oh, Studio Series is so loose because of the compromise of this in particular. Studio Series has had to deal with compromises from the very beginning. I mean, I think Devastator had to deal with compromises. The Revenge of the Fallen Devastator, at least I believe, because technically he should have more robots that would combine into him. Also, I think the Scavenger should be much larger than it actually is. The Grimlock should be much larger than it actually is. But not only that, Dino's alt mode is not exactly like the Ferrari that was seen in the film, and I think they also did the same thing with Sideways for the Revenge of the Fallen Studio Series line. So you're already dealing with a line with compromises, because it's a line that existed for 40 years. That's dealing with figures from 10 plus to 40 years. You are not going to have the same circumstances that you had that many years ago with copyright issues, with law issues. Things are going to change and evolve over time. So Studio Series has to make compromises over time because it's just not 2010 or 1984 anymore. That's just the realism of it, and I think people are not thinking realistically. And let me just say, even if they want to make the gun form and just give it an orange cap, I don't think they want to do that anyways. The Megatron tank form has really been established for Megatron for quite a while. You'll see that tank mode used more and more often with different shows. Yes, in Earthspark, he's this helicopter thing that's kind of like how he is in animated, but with Cyberverse, he's a tank. With the Siege and Netflix line, he's a tank. I think the best compromise that we can get is at least the Megatron robot form is accurate to his on-screen appearance, to where most of the tank mode can either be hidden or implicated in some way that it doesn't disrupt the flow of that Megatron and it still looks like his G1 form. Because the Siege design, while I kind of like that, it does have the giant backpack. So if they're able to incorporate that within the Megatron itself and flatten that down, I think that would be perfect. And not only that, I think that that Megatron should come with an accessory that would be able to plug into the Starscream hand as the gun form. I think that would be the perfect compromise, because here's the thing. Even if Megatron transforms into a gun, it's not going to be the size that's going to fit into Starscream's hand. I mean, you know, with mass shifting, that's happened before with Soundwave, and we still got the Soundwave after that. So, you know, you could argue that mass shifting is still a thing, or it doesn't really matter because, you know, you do have that Soundwave that's still kind of like big compared to other figures in his Voyager class alt form. But to that I say, at the very least, no one has to hold that Soundwave. With Megatron, someone would have to hold it, and it would have to be Starscream, and so I think something that's used as an accessory, I think that's just going to be much better. But I'm just saying, realistically, he's not going to be a gun, you know? And some people are saying that he should be a jet. I will go back to this. Some people are saying he should be a jet, but that's still not accurate to what he was in the original cartoon, so I don't know why that should be okay, but not the tank form. It just seems kind of weird, but yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I saw a lot of people upset, and it just seems kind of weird. So he's going to be a tank. That's it. You know, there's not really much more to say about it.